So, once again, very good morning to everyone at the various centers which have connected to us for this 5 days program on instructional planning, which is scheduled to be held from 12th to 16th June 2017. We have with us 5 centers which include Career Point University, Kota, Riyadh Bara University, Mohali, City Group of Institutions, Jalandhar, Anna University Regional Campus, Madurai, and UV Patel College of Engineering, Gujarat. I, Dr. Paramjit Tulsi, presently heading the Department of Education and Education Management, extend a very hearty welcome to the dignitaries who are with us for this particular inaugural session of the program, to all the sponsored teachers who are likely to attend the 5 days program on instructional planning, the participant at the ETV studios, and all other staff members who are amongst us for this inaugural session. Friends, this is program which is very, very important for the teachers who are in any educational institution. But before I switch over to giving you the rationale for the program, I would like to give a brief about the institute which is organizing this program for the next 5 days. And the Institute, National Institute of Technical Teachers Training and Research, came into existence in 1967, and there are 4 such institutions in the country, one at Calcutta, another at Chennai, another at Bhopal. These institutions came into being during 1965 to 67, and NITR Chandigarh is ISO 9001-2008 certified institution and has been in the service of technical education since 1967, and we have completed 49 and a half years in the service of technical education, and we are going to celebrate Golden Jubilee year on 7th September 2017. When the institute came into existence, it was set up in collaboration with Royal Netherlands government, and the major task which was assigned to the institute was to train the polytechnic teachers and improve the quality of technical education. And thus the institute ventured into offering diploma in technical teaching in 1967. It actually started in 1971, and then we had addition of number of departments to the institute in various years. The name was assigned to this institute in 2003, recognizing the services of the institute. The vision of the institute is to be a lead resource institute for building excellence in technical education, and thus to achieve this vision, the institute aims at offering continuing education and training programs for the faculty and staff of technical education system. Need-based curricula is to be developed, and develop instructional material to facilitate the implementation of the curricula designed, and also undertake research and development in 2 specific areas, that is engineering and technology and technical education. In addition to these 4 missions, the institute also provides extension and consultancy services to technical education system as a whole, catering to the needs of the regulatory agencies, institutions of higher learning, and all colleges of engineering and technology. At present, we are governed by a society which is referred to as NITR Society, and we have a board of governors where the chairman is the chairperson of that, and then it is supported by finance committee and academic cell. 14 departments exist in the institute to achieve the vision of the institution, and the 5 major activities which we undertake include education and training, curriculum development, instructional material development, research and development, and extension and consultancy services. The institute offers master's degree program in 5 major areas of civil, computer science and engineering, electrical engineering, electronics and communication engineering, and mechanical engineering. One program which was offered in Masters of Engineering and Education, that has been closed by the university, but we are still continuing with the 5 programs which are offered on 2 modalities. One is the regular mode, another one is the modular mode. In the regular mode, we have a sanctioned intake of 28. In a modular mode, we have a sanctioned intake of 40 to the 5 programs. Now, when I say it's a modular program, the teachers are likely to join us in the summer and winter vacation, and they take up 2 courses of study, and they are with us for 35 days. Examination system is common, but the duration of the program varies. The regular candidate completes the program in 2 years, but a modular candidate is able to complete the program in 3.5 years. And we have at present, the last year, 114 students who took admission in the regular program, and 78 students took admission in the modular program. Modular program is primarily meant for the teachers who are working in the technical education system. The institute has also 80 students who are pursuing their doctoral work under the supervision of the faculty of this institute. And in addition to that, we organize almost 350 to 400 programs annually for the faculty from the technical education system. And earlier, these programs were separately organized for polytechnic colleges and engineering colleges, but for the past 2 years, common programs are being offered to update the knowledge of the faculty members in their respective areas of specialization, as well as the allied areas, including the education technology, education management, rural development, media design and development, curriculum development, entrepreneurship development, etc. And here you will see in 2012, under the leadership of the then director, we started integrating information and communication technology in training the teachers, and thus the number of teachers who we were able to train annually increased from 5,000 to almost 16,000. And we were able to train almost 10 to 11,000 people through ICT programs, where technical institutions connect to us, and the efficiency of the program has increased in terms of the number of teachers being trained, and it has also become cost effective. As a result of integration of ICT, the institute has been able to start NITR Chandigarh technology-enabled learning portal, where all the web-based lecture series are available. Any short-term course which is organized through ICT, the lectures delivered by the faculty as well as the experts, they get recorded on the YouTube, and then they are transferred to NCTEL as independent web-based series of lectures. In addition to master's degree program, the short-term training program, the institute also organizes the workshops, seminar, conferences, and also offer training to the students who are pursuing their project work or would like to undergo 1 month training or 6 months training as a part of their curricula. And the second activity which we undertake is curriculum development. So here we have a specific department responsible for undertaking this activity and curricula, especially for the diploma level institutions, the autonomous institutions, that is being designed, developed, and then the department is responsible for facilitating the implementation of the curricula in various institutions, and then also take up curriculum evaluation and curriculum revision exercise. And today, the focus is on aligning the diploma level programs and activities to National Skill Qualification Framework, which has been accepted by the Government of India. And Punjab and Haryana, these are the two states which have taken the lead to align the curricula to National Skill Qualification Framework, but other states are likely to follow the suit. And then we undertake the development of print and non-print material to facilitate implementation of the designed curricula. And here, print material includes books, laboratory manuals, instructional sheets, and then the course material which is provided to the participants of the various programs which are organized. In addition to that, there is huge resource available in the form of digital content. These are video films which have been produced over the years, because we started with education television setup in 1984, and we have large number of video films on various subjects of study which are in part of curricula for various branches of engineering and technology and other allied areas. Gyan Darshan used to screen one video film each day produced by NITTTR Chandigarh. Thus, we had contributed to increasing the reach of our programs to the masses. And here, today, the focus is on developing video-based lecture series related to the curricula of various programs of engineering and technology. And I would say that UP State is the one which have taken a lead to develop the material in bilingual mode. So the teachers who are teaching in the polytechnics, they have recorded their lectures in the ETV studio of NITT Chandigarh. Then we do take up research and development, and as I said, R&D is taken in two areas, engineering and technology, and then we do take up studies in the area of technical education. Under R&D, the PhD scholars, the ME thesis and dissertations, and in addition to that, the faculty also take up some of the sponsored projects which are sponsored by Department of Science and Technology or Department of Communication and Information Technology or Ministry of Social Justice and so on. And the faculty at this institute also contribute their might to publications in the field of their specialization, both national journals and international journals. Under the professional development allowance, the faculty also tries to contribute by presenting papers in national and international conferences, and this is a regular trend with the faculty of this institute. And some of the sponsored research projects, you can see that we have been involved in one of the projects which was taken by IIT Delhi, and that was UK Bilateral Research and Development Project on Bioenergy Technology and Business, Eco-Water Literacy and Sanitation Project, Establishment of Cybersecurity and Forensic Training, and so on. And we have also been covered under Technical Education Quality Improvement Project, which was phase 2, and we had strengthened our resources. We have built the capacity among the faculty and staff to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of the organization. In addition to that, the fifth major activity is to offer customized services to the technical education system. And thus, we have been offering consultancy in four major areas, that is education and training, curriculum development, then research and development, and instructional material development. And the institute has been closely associated with All India Council for Technical Education, National Board of Accreditation, MHRD Government of India. So wherever our customized services are required, we are able to extend those services to the regulatory agencies too. I would say that we have 24 memorandum of understandings signed with the institutions of higher learning and industry. And these collaborations between the academia and the industry help us to achieve the objectives of the institution. And we are able to deliver programs and activities which are relevant to the world of work. And you can see that one of the organizations, the ABB, they have also given us support in terms of giving scholarships to the students who are pursuing their master's degree at this institute. And then Skippers India also, they have given the projects to the students. Then VEMSIS India is another organization which is also assisting the departments to provide training to the students during their project work. Now coming to the program which we are going to have for the next 5 days, we all know that for the past 15 to 20 years, there has been phenomenal expansion of technical education system. And today we have about 10,356 technical institutions, out of which almost 8,800 are the technical institutions which are offering diploma level programs and degree level programs in engineering and technology. And there is total intake capacity of the system which is 2.95, that is for degree and diploma level institutions. In addition to that, we have 0.75 million students who are pursuing their post-graduation. Now, this expansion which has taken place has posed number of challenges to us. First, which we see is that the system has expanded to an extent where there is inadequate number of faculty who is available within the system. So the needs of the students, we are not able to cater to, and the class size has increased manyfold. Earlier in a class, we had only 30 students. Now the class size in some of the subjects has risen to 120. So the teacher-student ratio is as high as 1:120. And it is very, very challenging for a teacher to cater to the needs of 120 students sitting in the class. Second challenge which has been posed, the heterogeneity among the learners has increased. We have students with various backgrounds from rural and urban areas. We have students from the government schools, the public schools, the convent schools. We have students who have different medium of instruction, some with the Hindi medium or a Punjabi medium, and then students with English medium. Then we have students in the institutions which belong to different cultures, and also they have different intelligence level, different achievement levels at +2 level, and they come with different learning styles and aptitude. So heterogeneity that exists in the class poses again a challenge to the teacher, how to cater to the diverse needs of the students who are sitting in the class. And another challenge is that the system over the years has been able to develop the lower level abilities among the students. That is ability to memorize, that is remembering only, where we promote rote memorization, and then we also are able to develop to some extent the understanding of the concepts underlying a particular subject, that is concept, theories, principle, processes. But when it comes to ability to apply and ability to solve problems, these are the two abilities where majority of our students fail to exhibit these uh, ability levels. So the whole education system is geared towards developing the lower level abilities among the students, because primarily in the classroom, the lecture method remains as the dominating methodology being adopted by majority of the teachers, and lecture method fails to develop the application and higher than application abilities among the students. When we look at the kind of revolution which has been generated in today's context by the media, that is nowhere that we are able to keep pace with the modern communication revolution. Classrooms are more or less still dominated by the board, and at the most we have LCD projectors in the classroom. But when it comes to the use of internet, the animation simulations, the use of video films in the classroom, that is very limited, and very few teachers are able to capitalize the potential of media that is available and which can be used to generate interaction among the students, between the teacher and the students, and also to monitor the progress of student, and also to promote independent study on the part of the students. All these all this potential which is there is not being capitalized by many of us. Go to the kind of evaluation which is carried out to assess what has been learned. The focus in the system has been primarily on the written examination. When it comes to the midterm test, the class test, primarily we are focusing on written examination in the form of maybe short answer type, multiple choice type, then descriptive or open-ended or essay type examination. But the changes which have taken place in the context, the world over, the focus is on assessing the competence of the teacher. It is not that we want to just test their memorization ability, but what a student can do. If we look at, the trend is towards the continuous comprehensive evaluation, and the methods are changing. It is more of that we have to focus on the project-based learning, which is to be evaluated. It is more of formative evaluation that needs to be carried out, rather than simply looking at the end term examination system and then assigning marks or grades to the student. There is need to develop the rubrics to develop objectivity on evaluation, because at present the reliability, the validity and objectivity of our evaluation system is under severe criticism. We cannot rely on the marks which a student is bringing to us. We always doubt, and the marks are not true indicators of the performance of the student. When it comes to validity, the evaluation system is only measuring knowledge with respect to a part of the curriculum, because you are giving external choices, and then all ability levels are not tested with the help of the examination system. So one has actually is to look into how we bring changes in the evaluation system so that it becomes more reliable, valid, and objective. And this becomes the dire need because now India has become a permanent signatory to the Washington Accord, and the whole focus in input output model of teaching learning has shifted to the outcome based education, and the methods of evaluation must change in today's context. Then the system accountability is again under question mark. Are we as teacher accountable to ourselves, accountable to our students, accountable to the management? This is a question which needs to be answered. And when the system has expanded, the question of accountability is much more relevant in today's context. And another challenge which is posed to the system is that many of the people who complete their bachelor's, now the qualification system has changed and the entry qualification is master's in engineering or technology. But there are many, many people who have joined the system, the profession of teaching, as graduates. We all know that they possess mastery over the subject matter, even that is doubtful, but still we assume that they know their subject matter. But when it comes to the pedagogy or the andragogy, these are two things where we are dealing with the method of teaching the students, children, and the adults. So the students who are coming to us, maybe in the first year, they are the adolescents who are there with us and they have not reached the stage of adulthood. So once they complete or attain the age of 18, they go to the category of adults. So a teacher must have sound theoretical knowledge and hands-on experience of designing learning experiences for the students who are below the age of 18 and above the age of 18. Because today, the connotation of learning has also changed. It is no longer a transmission of information which will promote learning. Learning is something which is constructivist. Approach is being followed. Each individual construct knowledge for himself or herself. So the role of the teacher has also changed. And this is a challenge where we need to break the old habits of the teachers who are in the system and motivate them to go for active learning, collaborative learning, empowering the students and engaging the students gainfully in the classrooms, laboratories, workshop, so that they can construct knowledge for themselves. And in addition to that, it is very, very important that the 21st century in which we are trying to provide teaching learning, the demands of the world of work have changed. The more focus has to be laid on three things: the learning skills and the life skills and the literacy skills. And when I look at the learning skills, critical thinking, creative thinking, collaborating, and communicating becomes very, very important. This is a world where no industry or organization can survive without adding value to the products and the services. So creativity, creative thinking becomes very, very important for the graduates who are going to join the world of work. When it comes to critical thinking, ability to question, rationalization, and provide reasoning why this should be the answer to this problem or why this alternative is more feasible. So the person needs to examine his own thought processes and thus involved in generating alternate solution and then picking up the most feasible solution to any kind of issue, problem or challenge. So critical thinking is very important. And again, I would say the collaborating, that means it's an era where we need to look in for synergy among the people who are working in various fields, because no problem in itself is very subject specific. Today we face problems where it is more of interdisciplinary nature, and you need to collaborate with others. Even you need to collaborate with the people from your own discipline to remain successful. And communication is the key to personal success as well as the organizational success. So the students who we are training, they need to possess all these competences to remain effective. And life skills include flexibility, initiative, social skills, productivity, and leadership. Now, the industry has a problem with the technical graduates. The acceptability of the technical graduates is declining. Why? Because the world of work is of the opinion that they lack the skills needed by the world of work. And in addition to that, because the students, they are, I would say, have media, and they need to have information literacy, which where to locate the information, which is the credible source for a particular information, and how to identify that source, how to locate that source, how to use that source. All these skills are needed. And then if you provide media to them, they need to have the interpretation of that media. So media literacy also becomes important, and technology literacy is required for information literacy and media literacy. So the young generation is referred to as Generation Z, because you have people who are born after 2005. Most of the students would be in colleges, and these students are 21st century learners. So it is said that the students who we are getting into the institution have a very short attention span. They cannot focus or concentrate on one particular task, but they do multitasking while sitting in the class. And we are all victims of this, because when the student sitting in the class having a mobile in the hand, the teacher is interacting, but student go on looking at the email, looks at the internet, also exchange a message with a peer group, and so on. And there is social interaction which is taking place while sitting in the class or the lab. And otherwise also, these are the people who are very, very open and expressive as far as the social media is concerned. Take the case of Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and so on. You will see that people keep on exchanging. And these are the people who prefer visual learning rather than the textual or the verbal learning. And you see that they require immediate gratification, pleasure seeking. That is, they want that they should be successful in the task which they do, and that information is flowing to them very quickly. And they indulge in inductive reasoning rather than deductive reasoning. They look for examples and then they come out with a rule. Then learning by doing is what they prefer. Now, in relation to the requirements of the 21st century learners, any teacher need to re-examine oneself. Are we able to meet the requirements of 21st century learners? So it is very, very important for us as teachers to reflect back and find out where we need to improve upon. And I will not go into this, but I simply say that the role of the teacher, with the change in the connotation of learning, with a focus on active learning strategies, the role of the teacher has changed from the transmitter of information to facilitator of learning. The teacher needs to create conditions for promoting learning among the students. And when I say this, we all know that National Board of Accreditation has enlisted graduate attributes. That means, what are those competences which need to be possessed by any graduate from the technical institution? And if you try and critically examine these graduate attributes, then you will come to know that all these graduate attributes are talking about application or higher than application level competence. So they are more focusing on how a student is able to apply the learned knowledge and skills and attitudes in day-to-day life and the world of work. At the same time, it is more focusing on the problem solving ability of the student. In addition to that, it is also where social responsibility of the student is taken care of, that he needs to understand the problems faced by the community and contribute its might to finding solution to those problems and improving the quality of life of the people. And in addition to that, you can see the focus is on developing lifelong learning skills among the student. So when we try to examine these graduate attributes, which form the basis for setting the PEOs, the program education outcomes, then PEOs, PEOs is the program education objectives, PEOs is the program outcomes, then COs, the course outcomes. And when we are trying to focus on these, each topic which we teach in the class or in the lab or in the workshop needs to be aligned to the course outcomes. And course outcomes has direct contribution to achieving the program outcomes, and program outcomes enable one to achieve the program education objective. So there has to be complete alignment among all these things. In other words, I would say that a teacher in today's context has not only to teach and teach and teach, but the teacher has to play multiple roles. He is a learner, because the knowledge is changing very rapidly. And computer science, the shelf value of the degree is less than 1 year. So the knowledge remains relevant only for less than 1 year. Electrical engineering, it is 2 years. Civil engineering, it's 5 years. So one has to look into how to update the knowledge and skills, how to keep pace with the changing technology that is, and in the field of teaching learning, so many changes with respect to methods, strategies, media, evaluation techniques, they keep on coming, that a teacher needs to keep pace with the changing scenario. Today, when we look at this system, it is not only formal education, there's a very strong distance education system, open education system. Along with it, now we have massive open online courses available, and many of the teachers who are working in the system may be involved in due course of time in designing various types of system. So they remain learner throughout their life, and only then they can cater to the needs in a justifiable manner. The teacher is also an adapter who adapts himself who adapts his strategies, who adapts his techniques as per the changing context and the needs of the learner. So when you look at your class, if you have you are flexible, you are able to adapt to the changing requirements of the class. Now this is where adapter adapt to the changes. Visionary, he need to look to the potential of the learner, and he should be able to see what is going to be. This is also a vision, whether this student can excel, this student has the potential. Then the vision, if I'm going to teach in this manner, will this knowledge remains relevant to the student? Vision, which are the subjects which are going to be relevant after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Vision. So a teacher needs to relate his teaching, learning, and evaluation to the context in which he can perceive today after 5 years or 10 years. The collaborator, many a times when it comes to problem solving ability, the teacher may act as a collaborator to the students. Otherwise, teacher can collaborate for teaching with other colleagues. Teacher can be a collaborator in research and development with colleagues from within the institution, outside the institution, outside the country. So collaborations nowadays are beyond your own areas of specialization, beyond the boundaries of your institution. Then the risk taker. So when you innovate, you adapt, you try new methods, new media, then you are taking risk. So a teacher invest in those strategies, in those experiences, and takes a risk. Because whenever you make a change, whenever you try out new things, you are taking a risk, right? Then he's an academic leader before the students. So a teacher needs to play this academic role, and he is a human model also. He has to exhibit the right kind of behavior and action which he expects from the students. Then communication is the backbone of any teaching learning process. So I would say, as this particular course, when it comes to teaching learning, planning precedes any successful act. And planning is nothing but you are trying to prepare a blueprint which you would like to implement and achieve the objectives. And planning is a very, very systematic process, but very few of us take this task seriously. We do mental planning only to the extent that we know this topic is to be taught. So we just refresh our knowledge, go to the class, and then start interacting. But planning involves many, many specific tasks which need to be performed by the teacher. I'll come to that quickly, and then deliver the instruction. Once you plan the instruction, you need to deliver, go to class, lab, or workshop, implement the planned activities, and then you need to assess to what extent the learning outcomes have been achieved. So these are three important elements in the instruction. And when it comes to instructional planning, the very first task of the teacher is to understand the learner. So it is very important that who is my audience. I try to find out the capabilities possessed by them, the strengths and weaknesses of the students who are sitting in the class, the preferred learning style of my students, so that I'm able to cater to the needs of my learner. And I need to know what previous attainment or previous learning they are bringing to the class. Do they have the prerequisites, which are very important for me if I'm going to relate the topic to what they have already learned at +2 or 10th level and so on, if they have the right connotation, my task becomes much, much easier. But if they don't possess the right connotation, my task becomes much more difficult. Then how do I relate? And how do I bridge the gap that exists between what I am going to teach and what they bring to the classroom? Then, second task, which is very important for me, is to do the curriculum analysis, because curriculum consists of units, then it consists of the topics. Many a times the sequencing is proper, but sometimes the sequencing of the units and topics within those units may not be that it facilitate the learning on the part of the learner. So as a teacher, I try to re-examine, am I going to teach the topic in the same sequence as they are enlisted in the syllabus or the curriculum, or am I going to change it to make it more easier for the student to gain understanding of those topics? So many of us just blindly follow the sequence. Don't do it. First, try to find out how you are going to sequence the topic, which is the prerequisite for the other topic, and how learning of one topic is going to facilitate the learning of another topic. Then the instructional objectives, or I would say the learning outcomes. Very important. If I am going to teach a particular topic, what is it that I expect from my learner? Because if I am clear that my student is going to define, or my student is going to apply, or my student is going to solve a problem, the instructional strategies would vary. Giving information is easier. I give it through a lecture, I give through a handout, I show them the material, they go through and do independent reading. Information can be acquired. But when it comes to application of knowledge, then I need to create situation where they can apply that knowledge. If it is problem solving, I have to design problems so that they can have practice on solving problems, and then they can be having that kind of ability where they can solve the problems related to a particular topic, right? So writing and objectives or outcomes are not only cognitive, they can be psychomotor. You want to develop skills. So skill planning lesson, if you have a skill lesson, then the planning is entirely different, where you're going to demonstrate, you're going to provide training to your practice to your students, and then you are going to evaluate. But in theory, it is different. So planning varies when it comes to a lecture. Planning varies when it comes to case study. Planning varies if you're going to have a group discussion. Planning would vary. So you need to be very sure what is the outcome that you are going to achieve, which type of instructional, I'll come to that, which type of instructional method and media will be used. Once you are clear about the outcomes, another is the topic which you are going to do. What are the constituent elements in that topic? How they need to be sequenced? What kind of examples can be given? What kind of explanation needs to be built? This is where you sequence the topic, the various parts or the constituent parts of the topic, and facilitate learning among the student. And then comes, if you have done this, methods and media. They need to be selected. And as a teacher, you have a vast variety of methods and media. There are large group methods where lecture method comes in. You have a small group methods where all your group discussion, seminar discussion, tutorials, demonstration, case studies, role play, brainstorming, all this is small group method. Then you have individualized methods of instruction. So which method is more appropriate to achieve a given learning outcomes? That is where you need to focus on. Then media, accordingly, you need to select media. It is not only print, the PPTs which we keep on using. In engineering and technology today, you have animations, simulations, the videos, and the process videos where you show the total process in 20-25 minutes. It has immense potential to support the verbal explanation given by this teacher. So media, and then the activities which you are going to generate in classroom to engage your learners. That is another activity to be performed. And lastly, the evaluation techniques which needs to be used. And as a teacher, I don't only plan for all this, but also plan for how am I going to arouse the motivational level of my learner. Because today we say students are not motivated to learn. If there is no intrinsic motivation, the task of the teacher is to generate conditions whereby you can generate external motivation among the students to learn a particular topic. And again, there are a variety of techniques at the disposal of the teacher. And then classroom management. When you go to the class, you see that a young teacher may be unable to manage the class on the whole. He's not able to maintain the discipline. He is not able to engage each and every student in the class. So what needs to be done? Some theoretical understanding is essential to apply those principles in the class to manage the class. And you need to be very, very productive because you have a very limited time of 50 minutes of 1 hour, whereby you are taking up the task of teaching. So the whole transaction or interaction, I would say, has to be very, very professional, business-like, where not even a single minute is wasted in the class. So planning becomes very important for the teachers so that they can plan for and answer the question why they are going to teach, what they are going to teach, how they are going to teach, how they are going to engage their learners, and how they are going to evaluate their learners at the end of 1 hour or maybe 15 minutes. And the second component I'll be missing because this is not part of this program, but I'll simply say that today, when we are looking at the system of technical education, we need to pay attention to the gamut of activities which need to be organized to facilitate learning among the students. And this is what we are going to focus in this 5 days program, that we are going to start with task analysis, where we will be dealing with how do you break down a task. The task may be topic, the task may be skill, the task may be job, and how do you sequence that task to facilitate the learning, and what are the rules of sequencing that topic. Then we'll also have a session on active learning. That is, what are the various instructional strategies which promote or generate active learning and engage the students in the classrooms or the labs. Then we focus on how do we write learning outcomes and what are the various taxonomies which are available. So primarily we'll be focusing on the Bloom's taxonomy when it comes to writing learning outcomes in cognitive domain, the psychomotor domain, and the affective domain. So what are the verbs which can be used, which convey the intention of the teacher, and then how do we achieve those learning outcomes by focusing on the methods, their characteristics and advantages and disadvantages. In this program, we are going to focus more on two instructional strategies. One is the case study, another is the brainstorming. Many of my colleagues in the field of sciences, engineering, and technology say case studies are used only in management. No, when you go to the Science Direct, you have bundle of papers available to you which deal with the failure analysis. All those cases can become a part of case study method in your classroom, and you can use it for developing higher level abilities among your students. Brainstorming is very useful technique for developing creativity among the students, because here it is generation of ideas without evaluation. So we'll be focusing on, even when you are delivering a lecture, maybe 15 to 20 minutes brainstorming session can be planned in between the lecture method also, when you're dealing with what could be the possible modification which can be made in the carburetor or maybe an engine. So an open-ended problem thrown to the students, and they come out with the various alternatives, and they are not paying attention to whether it is feasible or not. So we are just generating ideas. So that is where the brainstorming comes into play. Then we'll be focusing our attention to the media, the role of media in facilitating learning. And I'll be just focusing on what are the various sites which are available for an engineer or a teacher, engineering teacher, who, so that he or she can possibly save time, use the resources which are easily available, and promote learning in the discipline. Then we'll focus on evaluation. So evaluation, what do we understand by this term evaluation, and what are the variety of techniques, and which are some of the techniques which can be used by the teachers in a judicious manner? That will be the focus in the program. And I think 5 days we'll have also the tasks inbuilt into the program. So my request to all the coordinators would be, because each will be having a hands-on experience, that will give a group task. Then the participants are going to make a presentation through the Google Hangout. You can share the screen and can make a presentation in the program, and then it will be followed by the feedback session from the co-members as well as the experts who are sitting in the session. So this is all about 5 days program. Now I take this opportunity, because we have 3 members, one the vice principal, another director, and the vice chancellor present amongst us. May I request Mrs. Jasdeep Dhami, the director of City Group of Institutions, to say a few words in the inaugural session. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Ji.
Due to unavoidable circumstances, she had to leave.
Any other senior member available with us?
Yes, ma'am, I'll be speaking on her behalf.
Please go ahead. Introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Kanwar Sartaj Singh, and currently I am working as assistant professor in management department.
Okay.
And ma'am, currently we are sitting in the FDP related to instruction planning, and it is a very beneficial topic which we all should be covering up, as it is the base for all the curriculum which we undergo in which we'll be undergoing in next few months, like July to December. And until and unless we are not very much sure and very much confident about all this framework and structure, we cannot undergo our with our syllabus and everything else in a proper manner. And if we develop ourselves in this field, obviously it will be giving direct benefit to the students, as we all know that students are the backbone of our society and our nation. So it is very much directly related to our students and their benefit, overall benefit. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamar Pratap Singh. Thank you so much. Now,
Ma'am, Kanwar Sartaj.
Sartaj Singh. Thank you so much. So now, if UB Patel, can I switch over to? Are you able to connect to us?
Yeah,
Is the
ma'am.
mic okay now?
Okay.
Please go ahead. So I request Dr. Patel, the Vice Principal, to say a few words in the inaugural session.
Good morning, madam, and all participate. Thanks a lot for a given at the last moment. You have to approve our center. At a Friday, you have to approve the center, and our principals and our management will be give a permission to conduct the ICT modes is there. Basically, our university will be located nearby the Ahmedabad, 70 km far away. The self-finance colleges is there. We started our institute 1997 with the engineering and pharmacy. Later on, we have to penetrated in each and every parameters in a BBA, BCA, MCA, and up to PhD is there. And we have to also school level. Sainik school will be available at our campus level, and one granted research center will be also our agriculture research center will be available. And yes, week also we have to conducted a ICT based earthquake resistance and management for urban and rural planning housing at our institute for a civil department. And once again, that will be a core penetrated department. We have to participate over here. 16 to 17 participants will be available. So thanks a lot for given this type of opportunity is given to our institute. Thanks a lot, madam.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us the brief about the institute and highlighting the benefit of this program. Now, friends, it is time to listen to the wisdomful words of the Vice Chancellor, Dr. Rao. So I request Dr. Rao to deliver the inaugural address. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to all the participants, and good morning, Professor Tulsi
Good
Madam.
morning, sir.
I was sitting through your comprehensive presentation. It is wonderful.
Okay.
It has all the gamut of the technical teaching. In fact, if you have to become a teacher in schools or in other programs, you require
Yeah.
B.Ed or M.Ed. In the case of technical teachers, there is no such requirement. If you are an M.Tech, straight away you can become a faculty member. As you have rightly pointed out, the different roles of technical teachers, the current young faculty, they are not aware of all those things. It is not just transferring knowledge. There are so many other aspects attached to it. I'm sure that this program will definitely help all the participants to understand the various aspects of technical teaching, and they will prove to be, or rather they turn out to be good teachers, technical teachers. We are very much impressed to know the acknowledgements, the achievements of NIPTTR, which is doing a wonderful job for upgrading technical education. Career Point University is based in Kota. We have all the faculties: engineering, management, pharmacy, agriculture, sciences, law, etc. We have around 80 technical teachers in the ranks of assistant professor, associate professor, and professors. And all of them are quite motivated to join this program and learn a lot of things from this program. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And now I take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks to the Vice Chancellor of Career Point University, Kota, Dr. Rao, to join us and address the participant and give his expert comments on the need for this particular program. I'm thankful to you, sir, for joining us in the inaugural session and also sponsoring the faculty to undergo this 5 days program on instructional planning. I take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks to Dr. Patel and Mrs. Jasdeep Dhami and director of all other institutions, that of Rayat Bara University, City Group of Institution, Anna University, and UV Patel College of Engineering, who have sponsored the faculty member from various disciplines for this 5 days programs. I'll be failing in my duty if I don't extend my vote of thanks to the participants themselves who have shown interest in this 5 days program. Because without your participation, no program can be a success. So I'm very hopeful that the next 5 days, where we are going to interact on the various topics which are part of this program, there will be very, very meaningful interaction among the participants, between the resource persons and the participants, because you all seem to be with experience. Maybe somebody has less experience, somebody has more experience, but you have experience of your age. If you're 25 or 26, you are bringing an experience of 26 years to the program. So I am expecting a very, very meaningful interaction among the participants and between the resource persons and the participant. And I assure you that at the end of this program, you will be able to plan your lessons in such a manner that you are able to achieve your outcomes. And I expect cooperation from all the coordinators and the members who are participating in the program, because there are a number of tasks which will be accomplished by all of you in groups during 5 days, and a lot of presentations are to be made by the group members. So I'm sure that that cooperation will be forthcoming. Just one word of caution to the coordinators, that attendance in all session is compulsory. So make sure that teachers who have been sponsored for the program attend all the sessions, and session-wise attendance is maintained by all of you. That need to be sent to us at the end of the program. And along with, I'll be sending a course evaluation performer to the coordinators, which can be circulated to all the members, along with the attendance sheet, the bills of honorarium. You can send me the evaluation performer, so that based upon the feedback from the participants, necessary modifications can be made in the program, so to make it more relevant and to make it more effective. So once again, thank you everybody. If you have any clarification to seek, please go ahead.